Hi, Bob Bartlett here with the Ubuntu Fly Anglers Network and iFishiBelong. And this is our podcast series on the reel, and I am your host. This conversation was recorded in 2024 on Instagram, but way too important to only live there. So we have moved this episode and others like it to our podcast. This episode, I sit down with Rocky Mountain High fly fishing guide Erica Nelson, aka the Awkward Angler. Erica shares her evolution from being an outdoor adventure guide to a self-taught, eventually certified fly fishing guide. She also shares her passion for a life as a Navajo woman, a woman of color in outdoor spaces, and the Jedi work she was called to do. At the time of this sit-down, Erica was the lead guide for Wanderland Outdoors, an outdoor-based operation out of Denver, Colorado. So please join Erica and I for this sit-down conversation on the Reel. Hi, Erica, and thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. And thank you. I just appreciate you inviting me here.
Well, you're welcome. We tried to do this once, but you had an accident, and that delay derailed everything, right?
Or I had surgery.
Yeah. So Erica, please share with us how you identify yourself and where you're from and that sort of thing. Would you please?
Sure. Thanks for that nice introduction. My pronouns are she and her. I live in the ancestral lands of the Ute, known as Crested Ute, which you had just mentioned. But I've been here for about 5.5 years, and I grew up in the southwestern U.S., New Mexico, in the Four Corners area, just outside or near the Navajo Nation. I am an enrolled tribal member of the Navajo tribe, but also known as Dene, that I like to be referred to as. And yeah, I've been living I used to live all around the West Coast, but then I was like, oh, people would be like, oh, what's the ocean like? And I'm like, oh, I mean, like, inner Mountain West is where I've always lived. So, like Utah, and all the way up through Alaska and Wyoming. I feel like I've lived all over the West. So it's been a pretty nice, adventurous life that I've been fortunate enough to live.
Well, yeah, and when the two of us met, I think I just stalked you enough on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, can we have a visit? When we finally did visit, we realized we had some states in common, not just Colorado, but I'm married to the state of Wyoming and have been for over 50 years. So when you said, yeah, I was in Wyoming, what did I say immediately? Where? So,
oh my gosh, Wyoming, I've been talking about a lot about Wyoming lately. Like, that's where I learned how to fly fish. But also, like, everyone loves, like, Montana. And I'm like, it's good fishing, yes. But it's just so busy there. But nobody is in Wyoming. And there's some big, healthy brown trout and amazing watersheds. And anyway, I'm probably blowing up Wyoming right now. Sorry. No, but it's incredible. And it's just very underrated.
I'm totally with you because I chase them all the time. And I'm out there among the prairie dogs and the antelope. And I'm just looking around and can't see anyone for as far as that's the kind of fishing that I did in Colorado back in the day before it was found. Yeah. but in Wyoming, it's even better because there's so few people. My wife and I were talking about the fact there's more people in Spokane County where we live than in the entire state of Wyoming.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I just spot burned an entire state.
Right. So let's be quiet on the fishing in Wyoming. So, but no,
don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody. Wyoming is awesome fishing. So, all right. So hey, so I know that you go by this other moniker, I guess, Awkward Angler. Now,
yeah,
I actually read the New York Times article on you, 2022. Beautifully done. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Congratulations on getting that interview in and everything, because I know a little bit, but share with folks who do not know what the Awkward Angler is about.
Yeah, so I was just getting into fly fishing and didn't know, trying to censor myself what the heck I was doing. And kind of have a mouth on me sometimes, but I just started an online account. I had questions and I love alliteration, and I just was trying to figure out how to learn how to fly fish. And I never really saw anything that was representative of how awkward it is to learn how to fish. It took me like an entire year, I think, to catch a fish when I first started learning and catching more trees than fish, stumbling, falling in the river. And I'm like, why doesn't anybody talk about this? Like, it's totally normal once I started getting into fly fishing. And then once the observations and I started getting more and more involved in fly fishing, I was kind of noticing this like some weird vibes that seemed like sexist or racist, and it sometimes didn't feel safe. And I wondered if anybody else felt that way. And so that was kind of what I used my platform for, was to ask questions
Yeah.
and be curious and see if anyone else could relate to stuff like that. And then I noticed that it is really awkward to bring up inclusion and diversity and justice in fly fishing, and people really like have a hard time talking about this stuff, and it's just freaking awkward. So
Not
why
just
not?
not just the falling down part, but it's just awkward.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, talking about social justice and inclusion in fly fishing is just, I never seen anything like it. And so I'm just a naturally curious person. And so why not ask the questions and be bold enough? And yeah, and that's kind of
Sure.
how the awkward angler came about.
Yeah, but then you took it a step further and you started a podcast.
Yep.
And it was an Awkward Angler podcast.
Yeah.
And you didn't just ask questions and seek information, which is awesome. You also, yes, brought up that whole topic, those awkward topics that you just alluded to. Is that podcast still going, or what? I don't.
Yeah, so I've done 3 seasons. I have a lot of recordings actually, but unfortunately, mom died, had cancer, and all these
Yeah.
things kind of happened. So
Yeah.
I,
Life.
while I have like a library of like recordings, I just haven't had the capacity or time. And I really thought it's a really big bummer this year. I really thought I was getting back on my feet and then kind of got knocked down again with this ACL tear. But I am still, I love podcasting. I love doing it. I have so many ideas, but it's just funding, help, and time. And
Yeah.
also just mental space, mental energy that I've been trying to
Yeah.
preserve.
I totally get it. I just find it ironic that I, I just started doing this. I have no experience with it. Matter of fact, most people who know me wonder how I even do it because they know how awkward I am with social media. But I just jumped in and I started just looking on Instagram and following people, and one of my friends said, "Well, you can message them, Bob." I'm like, really? So I just started, and like you, I'm an incredibly curious person,
Mm-hmm.
and I love storytelling, right? And there's so much value in us sharing our stories, our common experiences, being us outdoors. And so I just find it interesting that you started yours, and I started doing this for really the same part, the same reasons, not totally, but in
Yeah.
part for the same reasons. Is it's tough finding us when we go to events, and I know you've gone to plenty, and I've been doing this for fly fishing the majority of my life, and I'm now 75, and been involved in stuff. It's lonely. It's incredibly lonely. And thanks to, I think, pandemic, we started having to seek people. And so anyways, I love that, the idea that, you have your podcast, and I can't wait till you have time to put it out there for us all to see. Well, let's back up a little bit now. I want to know how your journey began, this whole fly fishing journey began, and then you move from being a hobby angler, I would say, to being a professional guide. Can you walk us through that one? What happened?
Sure. Yeah, I moved to Wyoming around 2016. I was living in Lake Tahoe on the North Shore in Incline Village. I'm not sure if you're familiar with where that is,
Mm-mm.
but it is a beautiful place.
Uh,
The school that I went to was just like 2 blocks from the beach on the North Shore and it's on the Nevada side. A lot of people don't know that the lake is split, California and
um,
Nevada. So
yeah.
anyway, I was on the Nevada side. And I finished college at a later in life kind of thing, and then got a job with Knowles, the National Outdoor Leadership School, um,
Yeah.
and they're located in Lander, Wyoming. So that's
Hmm.
what took me to Wyoming. And
Okay.
yeah, and I actually was a professional disc golfer for a while, and whenever I got to Wyoming, it's actually pretty freaking windy. So,
Yes.
yeah. So, and there's not a whole lot of disc golf courses up there. So, like, I'm going to need a new hobby. And so, working for this large outdoor company or nonprofit, I had access to a lot of free gear. So, I just went in and borrowed a rod and a box of flies and went on YouTube and just kind of figured it out. And yeah, it was really interesting because at the time YouTube didn't allow downloading yet. So
Okay.
I had to like remember what I was watching and then go out into the, river, which Wyoming doesn't have like any cell phone service anywhere. So I had to like remember the video, and I don't know, it wasn't really catching on. So I ended up leveraging some online resources, aka a dating app.
I noticed that in your article. You actually hit the dating. I'm like, whoa,
Well,
that's
okay,
you're
here's the
bold.
thing.
You're really
Okay,
bold.
here's the thing about the dating app, though. I was in my like last year in college. I studied psychology, and we had to do a research study and get it published. And so the advice to me was like pick something interesting because you're gonna have to spend a lot of time on this topic. And so at the time I was like, well, online dating is kind of like a stigma right now, so why not just study this? And I noticed a lot of like different profile pictures, and I'm like, how much confidence or narcissism does it take to like put yourself out there on a dating app? So I measured narcissism and
Wow.
online dating profiles. And so anyway, so then like college was done, and then I was still like using the apps for research. And then like when I moved to Wyoming, I was like, wow, there's a lot of men holding fish on all of these profiles. So um, I was like, what if I just leverage this as a resource and ask them my questions? And so I started like swiping right on every single guy holding a
Ooh.
fish. So,
I love that.
I mean, I was like pretty upfront of like, hey, I just want to learn how to do this, and I have so many questions, and I see that you're holding a fish. Like, do you have time? And anyway, I ended up meeting a bunch of people and amazing. I actually have made a lot of great friends, and I'm still friends with today. And that was, I don't know, 2016, and a lot of them actually went off and got married, and I went to their weddings, and I don't know, I'm still really good friends with today. So they kind of like really helped me along my fly fishing journey, and I eventually found a fly fishing mentor, so a guy that took the time to teach me and spend weekends with me. He was like, if you can row my boat, I'll teach you how to fly fish. So I was like, all right, sold. So that's kind of like the journey into how I got into it, and obviously got hooked.
Well, yeah, but you went from that to making that huge jump, right? From
Well,
hobby angler to
I don't know, like
professional.
it wasn't really a huge jump because I've been professionally guiding for over 10 years. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I
Didn't know
am
that.
a Knowles whitewater instructor. I've been guiding
Ah,
for several years. Like I started out as a backpacking guide, a rock climbing guide. I was a ski coach in Lake Tahoe. So I have been in like the
got,
industry of guiding for
got
a
it.
long time. So it was
Good to
just
know.
like, okay, here's a new skill. And I already know, the etiquettes and whatnot of guiding and ins and outs of guiding. It was just like honing in. I think so. I ended up moving to Colorado, and I did a guide school because I just taught myself, right? I never really had any formal training. So the fly shop that I really like to go to was hosting a guide school, and I'm like, well, I've just been teaching myself all along, and what is it like to have formal training? And sometimes I noticed like I didn't know how to teach people how to cast. Like I knew what was wrong, but I couldn't articulate it. And that's kind of what I got out of guide school, was kind of these like how to actually teach people with like casting and describing different things when it came to fly fishing. So it was kind of just like an easy like, all right, another skill to guide, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing to know. I didn't know that about you all the years previous, because I was thinking, wow, that's huge. You go from hobbying to, okay, I'm a professional guide now, so let's go fishing. Um, so you took that experience. That's great. So you had that experience already in your books. You knew how to work with people, and it was just a matter of taking this on as another professional thing.
Yeah.
And you ended up in Crested Butte of all places, which I think I mentioned to you. I walked the road from your house to Gunnison. Back in the day, I designed all the cable system, phone cable system. That's a previous lifetime. But anyway, very familiar with where you're from. And so now you're up there and you're guiding, and you started guiding up there out of the fly shop that's in Crested Butte, right? There's probably more than one now. There wasn't one there, actually.
Well,
But
yeah. I just left that fly shop on to new ventures, which we can talk about. But I was at a fly shop in Almont, and yeah, that's the fly shop that I did the guide school out of. So.
right, right. Okay. So you mentioned it just now. I know that you've been heavily involved in Wanderland
Yeah.
Outdoors, which is an amazing thing all in and of itself. But what's your relationship with them? And if you could just touch on that topic a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So I typically get a lot of DMs from women of color, historically excluded identities and marginalized identities. And they're like booking trips. They come from all over the world to come fish with me, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And Angel, who I'm now, who's the founder of Wanderland Outdoors, I was just like, oh, here's like another person that wants to book a trip. We tried to arrange some things, but both of our schedules just couldn't align. And she finally just called me and was like, hey, like, just so you know, like, I'm actually wanting to book a trip with you to see if you want to partner in this new venture that I'm considering. And I've always dreamed of wanting to be my own outfitter,
Sure.
but I've tried going through the process, but it's really difficult to get permits. And it's just it's a lot. So, and I'm not one that loves details or reading a lot. I'm just like kind of winging it kind of a personality. And so, something I've always wanted to do is start my own outfitter, owned, operated. All guides are, historically excluded identities. And I've just never seen anything like that. So we both had similar visions, and I just didn't have the time or the resources. And she basically was like, well, I have the time and the resources. And we both have the same vision. And so she asked me to be a founding guide for this new venture. And, of course, I had a couple of questions just because I've seen some shady
Sure.
things in Colorado, especially when it comes to like women trying, like, anyway, I've seen some shady things, I guess. And so I had some questions, and she passed the test, and I was like, sign me up. Let's do this thing. So we launched Wanderland Outdoors in May, and it's very beautiful to see all the guides that we've been able to recruit come together in this, I like there's like a tagline of like Colorado's most celebrated guides. So it's pretty sweet that she, did the investment of time to get the permits in Gunnison Valley, all over Colorado, Eagle Vale area, the Front Range. We have a lot of private access, like the South Platte, the North Platte River. So there's a couple ranches that we have access to. And there's like this section called Deckers, but we have private access in that area versus like the very busy sections. And so and then like just thinking about what would this look like, what have we always been dreaming of. And so I'm right now creating a guide school to create more access for those marginalized identities to become guides. And also we have trail rides, which we work with Emma Brown and her family farm. We're doing like forest bathing hikes. We have access and permits in Rocky Mountain National Park. Food by fire. So Bobby is a great chef. And so all of our day trips have Bobby create a gourmet meal. So it's kind of like this like luxury kind of backcountry experience that we're creating for folks. And anybody can join. It's not just for certain identities. We just happen to be folks of color, and happy to guide you in all over Colorado.
I cannot tell you, I cannot express in words how happy it makes me that this is happening. And the cool thing for me is when I first started reaching out to folks last spring,
Yeah.
I reached out with folks that are now guides, that are now, working with this venture. And it is so cool because our early conversations about, man, it's tough being us out there. And then to find out that, holy cow, here's an initiative going that's building and building. And there's so much thought in the process. And it's such a diverse group. It's like, wow. I honestly, I'm just totally blown away.
I mean, that's like the power of community, right? I've seen other organizations and folks try to build these things right away and create action, but without reflecting on how to get there and how to build authentic community and partnerships. So
yeah. So that's awesome. Well, I have to ask you a little deeper question now because that's why we're here. But so, what's it like being you? What's it like being you, doing what you love to do? And start with when you were just you doing what you were doing. Well, what's that experience? The good, the bad, and ugly. If you have some experiences to share.
Sure. I mean, I think I have a pretty sweet life. I've always had, I grew up in a very like impoverished area in New Mexico, just off the Navajo Nation. And 40% don't have running water and electricity in 2024. And so leaving, it was kind of one of those things of like, my parents and mentors would always say like, leave here, get a good job, get a good education. And so, but I was also very like anti all of that. And I wanted to travel, I wanted to see things. And I luckily had very supportive parents that supported a lot of, and and not saying like in finances, but just like as far as like do what makes you happy. And part of that was picking up, and for a large part of my life, like anything I've always owned could fit in a backpack. And I think I lived like a decade out of a backpack and living out of, on friends' couches and cars. But these people's couches were like in national parks or like in Alaska or like on the coast of Oregon. And so the way that I've been able to travel has been like seasonal jobs. I've been able to like, just really uproot and kind of not like my sort of travel is like living in a place for a while to be able to find like the culture and embrace that area. And so I've been very fortunate to pick up, move to a brand new place where I don't know anybody and build a community. And so I have a lot of like chosen family all over the West Coast. And so I think I've been very lucky to be able to do that and build careers. I think I'm on my 8th career now, moving on to a 9th. And so I've had a lot of life experiences. And in those experiences, the one lens that I've always had was looking at like leadership development, organizational development, looking at ways of working, the way that processes work. And that's kind of how I've built my career in these aspects. And so I don't know, I've been able to kind of just move wherever and find a good job and be able to fly fish. So, but again, like to the point of like balancing of what that's like, I've experienced a lot of discrimination. I've experienced a lot of sexism. I've had guns pulled at me because I didn't know private versus public boundaries. I've had hard conversations, awkward conversations. I have had my own journey of not putting up with any bullshit anymore. So, enough things happen to you, and it's enough centered around systemic oppression that I've been able to kind of like pull myself out of that and see the bigger picture of looking at those systems, and how to make it better.
Yeah, well, you just not been looking at them. You've been busy. You created a Jedi initiative, right?
Yeah.
Before I forget, you also have a podcast having the word real in it, which I also find interesting. I made this up, On the Reel, and you actually had On the Reel, your own On the Reel version. But I was when I was reading that, I was thinking, now that woman is incredibly clever, because she actually, her REAL is an acronym. My REAL is simply to distinguish between real and real. So I'm like, we think alike. But to the point being, you've been busy doing the work of inclusion,
Yeah.
justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Well,
You've been really busy. Tell us
yeah,
about that.
I think the thing where that comes from was in my undergrad, I was actually studying clinical psychology, and I I came to a like conclusion that like I'm I'm not one to work with people that are gonna bitch about something but not do anything about it.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, maybe a therapist isn't for me. So
Preach,
I had
preach.
to like redirect my career. So yeah, I'm not one to just sit here and complain about things. I have to like do something about it and come up with reasonable action around it. And so
Yes.
Real is actually not a podcast, it's my consulting
Ah,
firm. So in 2018, while I was working at Knowles, I partnered with our diversity and inclusion manager, Sydney Clark Whittington, and she was the diversity and inclusion manager, as the marketing manager, and we thought it was necessary to work together about important initiatives. And our company didn't love that. They were like, there's no need for diversity work. We don't need that here. There's no budget for it, blah, blah, blah. So we decided, well, we see the need and it's requested. So we launched Real Consulting, doing diversity and inclusion work, which now I call leadership development, because I do believe that diversity and inclusion is a basic leadership skill and it doesn't need to be like separate or pieced out.
yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where that came from. And we also co-created the Angling for All pledge, which was this pledge that companies and brands can sign on to, because there's all these questions about, well, I care about diversity and inclusion, but I just don't know where to start. Or I want to get it right, or blah, blah, blah. So we kind of created like that bridge of information and education to be able to meet folks where they're at and help build their brand and their strategy.
Right.
And actually, when we launched it, Orvis was the first to sign. Patagonia was there after, United Women on the Fly, Casting for Recovery. So we've been able to work with all of these different organizations throughout that process too.
Well, I would love to work with you on that as well. I'd love to sign on to the pledge if you'll have us. Ubuntu needs to be involved in that and learning from you as well. So that's exciting. You also got involved with Brown Folks Fishing.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that was part of my journey of learning how to fly fish and just like looking out for other folks that could relate. And it was nice to see some representation.
Are you still involved with them at all, or?
Yeah. So Real Consulting partnered with Brown Folks Fishing to create the Angling for All pledge. And I'm still an ambassador, so still very much active. Yep.
Well, and I knew the time would go by, but I wanna just throw out a couple other things here. I'd like for you to share, if you have a bit of advice, right, a bit of wisdom that you would like to share with others, of us in this industry, the sport. Please share with us.
I mean, don't be a dick. No.
That's good. That's a good one. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a quotable one. Yeah, go put that out front in the yard, make a flag.
Oh gosh, a bit of advice. Let's see.
That's a good one.
I mean, I've always said if it's not fun, don't do it. Like, I am a big fan of fun first. So I don't know. If it's not fun, don't do it.
Well, there you go. If it's not fun, don't do it, everybody. So that is mind blowing. I'm still dealing with the other thing you said, but it'll get in here and be locked away soon. But okay, so as we wrap up here, do you have any? And doggone it, I just knew it when we're done. But anything else that you want to share before we sign off? Because a lot of folks are like, "Woo,"
Sure. I mean,
she's nailing it.
No, I think for me, like I love fly fishing because it's I can connect to so many different things, and it's a holistic connection, not just catching fish. And I realize that some folks that is their thing. They're happy. That's what makes them, that drives them, and that's great. I think where I have found community in that other broader connection is just being authentic and really looking at the river holistically. So where, like, tracing up to my watershed, where does that come from? Looking at all of the elements it takes to be able to catch and connect with a fish is very special. And I don't think that that should be taken lightly for myself anyway. I'm speaking for myself.
Right.
And so, yeah, and to me, that just brings a bit more like holistic look at fly fishing for me. It's never about the biggest catch or these destination places. I'm just as happy catching these like 3-inch brook trout, in there's this river 5 minutes away, Slate River, and they have the cutest, most brightest, most healthy brook trout. And I bring my little goldfish net, and it's pretty fun. And then there's also like this catch and release section with 22-inch fish, and I have days where it's just like bam, 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 and I think both of those two are equally the same, and I think they're really special to be able to get out and celebrate clean air and clean water in all of these sacred places. So yeah, like I'm just curious on how other people connect, and that's kind of one thing that does it for me.
Right. No, I'm totally with you on that when I'm working with folks trying to encourage them to get into fly fish. I'm often asked though, why not just fishing? And I'm with you. I think there's something incredibly unique about fly fishing and people who do it. That is absolutely, I use the word holistic all the time. To say, no, it's not about, first of all, trout don't live in ugly places. And if you're into fly angling, then you appreciate more than just the catching. And it tends to be a gateway to environmental activism.
Absolutely.
If you look at those involved in conservation work and environmental activism and see where they are in the sport, they're typically, not always, but typically flying.
Totally.
Because we just see things differently. But that's awesome. Well, again, I knew this was going to happen. I just knew it was going to happen. I would love to be a part of your family, your community, if you'll let me. I hope we can stay connected. I'd love to come visit when we're down your way, swing by, and maybe even fish together.
Absolutely. That'd be great.
I'd love to do that.
Anytime.
So again, thank you, Erica Nelson, Awkward Angler, for being on the show. I've been looking forward to this for so long, and I'm so happy you were able to do it in spite of the fact that you had this massive surgery. That's a whole story in of itself that that's yours to tell about how that happened. But I really, really appreciate you, and I've really appreciated you from afar for a long time.
Yeah.
So truly, thank you so much. A big shout out to Wanderland Outdoors. Man, I am watching like a hawk. You're doing such great things and employing all my friends. It's just awesome. And I wish you, Erica, and them the best of luck. So blessings on you, Erica Nelson, and all those you encounter. You're amazing. And again, thanks for being on the show.
So thank you for listening, everyone. You can also watch each episode on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at Ubuntu Fly Anglers on Instagram and UbuntuFlyAnglers.com on Facebook. You can also message me directly at UbuntuFlyAnglers@gmail.com. So thanks, everyone, for listening and watching. See you next time. Tight lines.